Sad story, what desperation does to the brain. Yo, what's up, it's someone that's someone, and welcome to Deliriant Week 2022. This report is coming from Hydromoron, where he took Datura. And here's the full report details. Alright, so welcome to Deliriant Week 2022 officially. Pretty sure I'm gonna have this be the first episode. And to kick things off this year, we got a good old Datura story. One I'm sure will go down as a classic. I'll just say it involves a reckless desire, with concerned parents, and eventually a trip to the hospital. It's a good one, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Again, happy Deliriant Week, happy Halloween season. We got a lot of good stories coming up, so stay tuned. So without further ado, let's dive right into this. Rewind back to March of 2022. It was a hot day, and my family and I were looking for some occupation. We began talking about how swimming would be nice. At this point, I already had drugs in the back of my mind, so immediately, I suggest going to the river to fish and swim. This is where tons of datura grew in the ditches right near the river. So I finally get around to coaxing my mother and father to pack up our fishing and swimming supplies, and head down to the river about 15 minutes away from our house. We get there, unload the gear, and right away, I saw vast patches of datura plants. I tell my mother and father I need to use the restroom. They obviously say, "Alright, be quick." So I made the move of running down to the datura bushes, picked up a few, came back, and acted like all was right. Little did they know the events that would take place when I ingested these flowers. I go on about the day, swimming, fishing, and enjoying the nice cool water, overlapped by the hot sun. The sun is setting, so we decide it's about time to get headed back and pack up our supplies. I find my brain to be wrapped with the thought of ingesting these flowers. So I rush to the kitchen, grab the plug-in electric crockpot, fill it up with water, and bring it to my room. I place 4 flowers in the lukewarm crockpot, close the lid, and set the heat to high. I take out my phone and scroll on Discord for a little while, until the aroma of earthy peanut butter / vegetables filled the air. The deed was done. I poured out the mucky green goop into a 28 fluid ounce cup. This concoction filled 3/4 of the cup. I downed it in one go. Putrid tasting it was. I immediately felt off, dizzy, and was producing far less saliva than normal. I sat down for another 15 minutes. All kinds of deliriant thoughts flow that are hard to recall by memory. I stand up after 20 minutes or so, and the bodily heaviness hits me like a truck, accompanied by motion blur as I walk to the restroom like a robot. The motor coordination impairment was far more pronounced than dextromethorphan coordination, also called robowalking. My memory span was that of a goldfish at this point. Normally, if my parents had given me a quick glare, I'd think nothing of it. They had done the same while I was walking down the hall, already noticeably intoxicated. Their glares pierced my soul. I quickly dart to the restroom and slam the door shut. I try and piss. Nothing. It was like a concrete wall was blocking my urethra. These shits hit too hard, I said to myself. My hands and lower extremities began to violently vibrate. I was seeing spider legs on the outlines of objects, accompanied by what looked like slits in reality. My mouth was producing next to zero saliva. I was extremely thirsty, so I wandered back to the kitchen to get a cup of water. I was greeted by my parents. As suicidal, homicidal, and dysphoric deliriant thoughts crossed my mind, they had said one crucial statement that changed the outcome in this next hellish 72 hours. "Are you okay, son?" I respond with a monotone, yeah." My mouth was so dry, it sounded like I spoke with a lisp. They again say, "Something's up. We can see your pupils are the size of a penny. Tell the truth, son," my mother said. I gave it the ghost and confessed. I said I was high on flowers. I never once specified the exact flower till the ambulance came. They saw I could barely walk, talk. I was even staring off into the distance. I was unblinking, wide-eyed, jaw-dropped. They later commented I had fear in my eyes. I feared the impending doom and realized I had made a big mistake. They called 911 and report my case to the dispatchers, who immediately sent an ambulance. I am foaming at the mouth at this point as the first responders bombard me with questions like, what year is it? What is the president? What color is the sky? And other such questions, which would be a breeze to answer sober, but for me currently, I was in for a ride. The first responder's face began to morph into my deceased cousin, then a dog. Then, next thing I know, I black out. Parents said I was convulsing for 3 minutes, vomiting blood in the ambulance. I was rushed to the hospital, where I'd been put in neuro ICU. One of the only things I can recall in the hospital was pulling my IV fluids out, thinking it was a McDonald's straw. My blood pressure dropped to 50/40, with a pulse of 240. I was lucky I survived this event. I began hearing loud ringing in my ears, similar to firing a .22 caliber rifle indoors with no earplugs. My vision turned to a beautiful sky with wide stars, a rainbow painted across the cloudy, sunny sky. Angels cried and sang out as God ripped the skies apart. I could physically feel and hear this event. God said in the most empathetic, compassionate, and deep voice, "Curiosity killed the cat." At this time, it seemed completely normal. I turned my head and saw the heart rate monitor. The monitor morphed into a Roman soldier with a hole in his stomach, filled with what looked to be dead grass at the time. I began hearing loud gunfire and war cries. My vision warped and twisted until all I could see is a battlefield full of tanks and Nazi soldiers. There were 2 huge towers connected by a rope bridge in this battlefield. I saw that a soldier had hung themselves on the bridge. His neck was snapped in half. It was only hanging on by the rope. These visions were extremely graphic and brutal, as I still get trip flashbacks to this day. I black out for the rest of the duration. My parents had told me that I was poking at the air, saying my Uncle Bobby was recording me on a cornrow duff, and I had also said, "Are we done with all the work for today?" My parents had also said I was grinding my teeth extremely roughly. I had finally fallen asleep / blacked out. Doctors said my heart rate had dropped to 40, and I had torsade de pointes arrhythmias. They had taken 6 bags of intravenous fluids to get my blood thickness and hydration back to normal, as my blood was basically syrup at this point. I was shaking to the point that even after the 72-hour mark, when I stood up to use the restroom, the auto flush sensors on the toilet kept going off due to my legs shaking so horribly. To this day, I have no memory of what went down between the 48 and 60-hour mark, and to this day, I kinda deny it, but I know this is truly what deliriants do to your brain. I wake up at last, conscious, mouth still dry, vision a bit blurry, but with an overall clear headspace. I have a catheter in me. My mother and father were gone. The only one accompanying me was a nurse. She said I was to be transported to the psychiatric hospital near me. I begged him please not to go, but the deed was already done in the sense that the 5150 was already placed on me, or there was nothing me or my parents could do now. I spent 7 days in the psych ward, miserable. But that's a different story. This is all I have for you, so I thank you for listening. Remember, do not do deliriants. They will fry your brain and make you stray further from God as we know him.